My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my ranking of the 6 seasons of Better Call Saul from worst to best. In this video, we'll have some spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, go and watch it, then come back and watch this review because I will be going in depth. Now, in last place, my least favorite season is the very first one, season 1. And the big reason for that is that it's just a very rough start. You go from this plot with these two scam artists and how Tuco gets involved, to this Kettleman's plot, to Nacho having been defended by Jimmy, and then you get Mike's backstory, and then you go back to the Kettlemans, and then you go to the Sandpiper case, and it's just so unclear for the majority of it what is the focus. And it does become clear by the end that it's supposed to be Jimmy and Chuck's relationship, but it just doesn't feel like that up until that point. And when that stuff is revealed, it's really great, really compelling stuff that does end up saving this season. But getting to that point was very rough. Like, everything with Tuco and those two scam artists was just way too over the top and way too silly. And it just didn't grab me in the way I would have liked for it to grab me. Everything with Marco in the very last episode, I didn't really care for. I get what it's going for about trying to show who Jimmy was and what he used to be like, and how he's still that way now, really deep down, even though he's pretending to be a lawyer. I get all that. It's just nowhere near as effective as it could be. So the fact that for the first season I was left as underwhelmed as I was, that's why season 1 is my least favorite season. My fifth favorite season, or my second last, whatever way you want to word it, is season 5, which I know is a very unpopular opinion because this is usually top 2 for most people, and there's definitely great stuff here. I think the stuff with Aiko and him not wanting to move out, so Jimmy's trying to find ways to keep the construction people away, is absolutely hilarious. I love seeing Jimmy fully become Saul Goodman at work, and there's that one scene where he defends that one guy and he's just like, so is that guy the guy who robbed you? Yes. Well, my client's actually in the crowd over there. That was really great. And I do like the last 3 episode arc with Bagman, and the last 2 episodes after that. It does have some emotional weight behind it where you really feel like the characters genuinely care for each other. But so much of this season does feel like filler. Like, you've got this plot with Akos. Like I said, it's got some really funny stuff in it, but it's ultimately filler and doesn't change anything. You think for a second that Kim and Jimmy might actually break up, but instead they get married, and it's as underwhelming as it can be, and then they just go about their lives. Like, it doesn't feel like anything changed. And even though I like Bagman and the aftermath of it, it doesn't maintain that weight into season 6, so by that point, it doesn't feel as relevant as it should. The big aspect of this season that is important is Jimmy getting involved with Lalo, and I like that. Lalo is a fantastic villain, and he's in this season a lot. But I just didn't need all that extra stuff, all that extra padding. And I didn't really care for any of Mike's storylines this season where he's torn up about the death of Warner Ziegler. And I'm just not a fan of, the cliffhanger we've seen a few different times where someone wakes up and they're in a completely different place. We've gotten it in Barry, we've got it here, and it never hooks me. So, yeah, definitely some good stuff. The performances are good. I still like the characters, but it's not as strong as it should be, so that's why it's in 5th place. In 4th place is fitting season 4. 5th place, season 5, 4th place, season 4. I'm not doing that on purpose, but it does work out. But look, there are some really great stuff here. Like, I loved the first few episodes where we just deal with the aftermath of Chuck's death and how deeply that affects Jimmy. Like, he's completely torn up. He almost says nothing in the very first episode. He only gets better after he realizes that his actions caused Chuck's suicide. And then he just snaps out of it. He just puts the guilt over to Howard and just goes about his day, and it's truly awful. And then we see this letter that Jimmy gets from Chuck in his will. And it's actually a very nice and sweet letter, but Jimmy is just reading it with the least bit of emotion he could show. He's munching on cereal as he reads it, and you just really feel like someone who he once loved and looked up to, he's completely cut off emotionally from that. And there's some tragic nature to that aspect. And I love the way in the last episode where he finds out he has to use Chuck's name to get his license back. So then he goes off script. He just goes on this whole thing. And really, he's just using his brother as a manipulative tactic to get himself what he wants. And the fact he takes the name Saul Goodman so he isn't associated with his brother. That stuff, all great. I really enjoy. But all that stuff between, like, from episodes 4 to 8 or 9 doesn't really work for me all too much. I don't care about Jimmy's job as the cell phone man, and even though the whole plot to defend Hugh is quite funny, it just feels so irrelevant. It feels like filler, and I just don't think it's needed. We've got Kim's storyline where she's dealing with the aftermath of her car crash, and she doesn't want to take on all this extra work, and she's trying to figure things out, and I don't think that plot was as compelling as it should be. I didn't really care for the whole German plot with Mike and Gus, and I know I was supposed to form some kind of attachment to Warner Ziegler, but I never really did, and I just don't buy that Mike would kill him. Like, Mike is a guy with more and with a code, and it just feels against his character to kill him in some ways. And I know people won't agree with that, but I stand by it. So this season definitely got some strong points, but as a whole, it's still not quite great. There's too much filler and too much irrelevant stuff going on for me to consider it as such. But then we get to my third favorite season, and it's season 6, the very last season. Now, there is some excellent stuff here, and there's also some stuff I don't care about at all. The stuff I love is everything regarding Howard, Kim, and Jimmy. You know, the fact that Kim and Jimmy are putting in so much effort and time to humiliate Howard to the extent that they do, only for Howard to get killed shortly after, and they realize that they completely ruined the reputation of a man who was nothing but good to them. How they created this terrible story and lied to his wife in a completely despicable act. How they ruined his and Chuck's legacy because HHM is now changing its name. How they got lots of people to lose their jobs. And you really feel the weight of all that. And the whiplash from, ha ha ha, this is hilarious prank, and I did laugh, to, holy shit, this is permanent, is felt, and it's so expertly done. And you've also got some of the most tense and thrilling stuff in this entire show, with Lalo seeking his revenge, and the way his plan unfolds is completely brilliant, and I was riveted by it. I love how he goes out with Gus staring him down, you know, not showing any bit of weakness, and then as soon as Lalo's dead, Gus falls down. That was really great. I thought Nacho went out in a very memorable way. Like, I wasn't the biggest fan of Nacho's character and everything regarding him, but this is a satisfying end to his character. And I do like the ideas that they're going for with the ending, but I don't think the execution was all there. You know, the whole point of Jimmy's character is that he can't change, and then he just suddenly makes all the right decisions like that, and I'm supposed to be moved by it, and I just don't buy into it. I said in my review that I'm like, what was the reason why? And after talking to some people, it becomes quite clear that the big catalyst for his change is the fact that he realized Kim did the right thing and how that motivates him. And that's probably what they were going for. I just don't buy it. I just don't buy that big of a character change, that huge, comes from such a small thing. And I just don't buy into that. I also wish that, even though I like the last scene with the two of them, that maybe they talked a bit more, and everything prior in that whole Gene storyline just didn't really work for me. I thought the whole storyline with Pat Healy and Carol Burnett was incredibly dull, and they slowed down the ending of this show to an unbearable degree for its end. Some of the Breaking Bad cameos felt very fan servicey, but I do like the one flashback with Walter White and Jimmy as they're waiting at the vacuum shop or whatever. And I do like the flashback where Kim and Jimmy are signing the divorce papers and Jimmy's pretending not to care. I thought that hits really hard and has some tragic nature to it. So I think so much of this season is great and excellent, but I just don't think the execution was all there in its ending. It just slows down a bit too much. And like I said, I love the idea of Jimmy going from 7 years in prison to 84 years because he wants to be held responsible. I love the idea. I just don't buy the execution, so that's why it's in third place. In second place is season 3, and this is a great season. The first half especially is excellent. Everything with Jimmy and Chuck, top-notch stuff. How you feel the betrayal of what Chuck is doing to Jimmy, and how he reacts in such an emotional way that Chuck is completely relying on. So these two are fully butting heads against each other. There's no pretending that everything is fine. They hate each other and they're trying to take each other down. And it all results in this episode, chicanery, which just delivers in every single way. And there's just so much complexities between the two of them. Well, everything Chuck says is correct, but he's such a shitty person and he has no heart at all. And I actually do think that this has the best storyline with Nacho as well, as he's trying to get rid of Hector, and that scene where he's mixing up the pills is really tense. You've also got the introduction of Gus, and you've got this scene where Mike discovers him, and that's really great. And it feels like good build-up, even though I would like a bit more payoff there. Well, this season does lose me a little bit is in its second half with Jimmy's storyline. What he does to Irene, like, he makes her lose all her friends. It's truly awful stuff. And then he has to do community service and he's trying to make commercials and it's entertaining enough. It's just not to the level of what we saw before. I do really like everything with Howard and Chuck and how Chuck kind of backstabs him. That stuff I thought was excellent, but some of the second half could have been tightened up a bit, could have been a bit better written and just, yeah. So still a really great season, just first half is definitely superior to the second half. But my favorite season in this entire show, and I guess this is a very hard take, which baffles me, but it's season 2. I think this is this show at its absolute best. It just delivers in every single way. Everything I love about this show is present here. First, you've got yourself great performances. You've also got the whole aspect of you understand why Jimmy is doing what he's doing, but he's still doing something he shouldn't. Whether it's the fabricating evidence for the pie story, which the 180 that scene goes in, from him and Kim joking about it to her being like, you can't do that. You feel the weight of it. To him trying to stop this bus and getting all these seniors to sign on and him realizing that he shouldn't. And then him creating this commercial, which is a very good commercial, but he doesn't want it by Cliff and he ends up getting in shit for that and it affects Kim too. And then you also got him wanting to help Kim out with this Mesa Verde stuff. And that results in a lot of drama between him and Chuck. All of that stuff is so excellent because it's character revealing. We see how Jimmy's actions don't just affect him, but those around him. It's also a giant exploration of do the ends justify the means. And on top of that, nothing feels like filler because it's all character motivated. I also think it highlights all the complexities of the characters and their relationships so incredibly well. Whether it's the flashback where we see that Jimmy didn't learn from his father's heart, but from the people who took advantage of it, to his complex relationship with Chuck and how Kim loves the fact that Jimmy is so spontaneous and fun-loving and how that's appealing but also affects her in a negative way at certain points. I just think there's some emotion here, there's some great character writing, the story is all motivated by characters, there's some really funny stuff like when Jimmy's trying to crit Davis and Maine. You've also got yourself some great moments where like, is Jimmy going to just let Chuck lie there or is he going to help his brother out but sabotage his plan? There's just so many terrific things on display here and I think this season deserves a lot more credit. And I also say that the Mike stuff here was more entertaining than it gets in later seasons. Still wasn't huge on Nacho in this season, but yeah. But anyways, that's my ranking. So what are your rankings of the Better Call Saul seasons from worst to best? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for some more videos soon, and Gavin out.